why does a manga where all there is sitting around and a bunch of talking feel more intense than other action series? Sounds crazy when I put it that way, right? Well, Akane-Banashi is just that. This story follows around Akane, a young girl, I want to say she's about 18 years old, who dives into the world of Rakugo. If you don't know what Rakugo is, look it up. And in this story, she chooses to dive into Rakugo because she's basically trying to get revenge for her father being kicked out of Rakugo society. And from a really tender young age, she strives to become a professional in a male-dominant space where she faces many obstacles, rivals, and different competitions in hopes of reaching the spot in the place where she can face and confront the person who essentially was responsible for kicking her father out of this community. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but this story is absolutely addictive. And it's addictive for all the reasons that you may not think of. So in this video, we're going to be diving into all of these different elements that you don't expect when reading Akane-Banashi, a story about Rakugo, and some other miscellaneous reasons as to why I am so in love with this story and why I'm excited that it's getting an anime in spring 2026. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Mel, the host of this channel. And if you haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button before you continue watching the rest of this video. So what exactly did I mean when I said unexpected element? It's a battle shonen because, you know, this runs in Shonen Jump, but without any of the fighting involved. Now you may be wondering, Mel, how the is it a battle shonen without any fighting? Well, I'm glad you asked. In Akane-Banashi, every person who tells Rakugo stories or is a Rakugoka, aka a professional of Rakugo, has specific stats and techniques attributed to them. What are those stats and techniques? Timing, voice control, story interpretation and dictation of that story, as well as emotional range, pacing, and so much more. And whoever has the best blend of stats, I'm not going to say the best stats overall because there are people who have peak stats, but let's just say sometimes it doesn't always deliver to the audience. And the key determining factor here is that Rakugo, a telling of story to a group of people, works best when you've captivated your audience. And I think for all of us who watch anime or who watch any TV show, read books, anything of that nature, the way that a story is executed is most pivotal and important for the success of your story. And in Rakugo, it's exactly the same. But in Akane-Banashi, the way that they flex these skills is so shonen. Because with each Rakugo show, or even competition that Akane enters into, she finds herself battling with one of the other performers. And the wonderful thing about this manga is that we don't just get Akane's performance. No, we get all of the other different characters' performances as well, so that one, we could stack up Akane's stats and techniques against her rivals and competitors and other people in the space. And two, it gives us a really good sense as to what it really means to be a successful Rakugoka. But along the way, like any action shonen story, Akane builds friendships and rivalries alike as she continues to rise through the ranks in Rakugo society. Now moving on, you also may be wondering, but wait, you're telling me that Rakugo is all about telling stories. How does that work as a manga though? Like, manga is all about art. Yes, there's text, there's spoken word that we read along with the art, but some of our most favorite manga out there is just how art tells a story. And that is exactly what Akane-Banashi does so beautifully. The art within Akane-Banashi draws tension, it draws emotion, and it draws that intensity that I was talking about earlier. For those of you who really geek out about the way things are drawn within a manga, I will say that the mangaka of Akane-Banashi does a beautiful job of utilizing white space. This white space helps create additional tension, additional emotion, and I honestly feel like I'm able to feel the emotions of the characters, as well as get a pure good sense of the story being told by the characters. Yeah, I know it sounds a little bit confusing. Akane-Banashi is a little bit Inception-y, but we'll get into that later. And I know that if you're a manga reader, you probably love seeing double spread panels. Akane-Banashi does that in a beautiful sense. The way the mangaka captures, I want to say, the multiverse of Rakugo and the stories that are being told is absolutely like stellar chef's kiss. And no, I'm not talking about like dan-da-dan type of compositions, because that is real beautiful in a very different way because it's super detailed. But I feel like the mangaka puts a lot of thought into how to position the characters characters, how to draw the story out that's being told, not only the story of Akane-Banashi, but the story that the Rakugokas are telling. And they do an amazing job with even just single panels. And one of my other favorite things about the art that really intensifies the emotion is the way that the characters' emotions are drawn. It's complex. It's not like happy, sad. There's mixed emotion like sadness, disgust, confusion that is so well drawn into their faces. And it just feels like the mangaka has a really good understanding of complex human emotion. Because an example here, as much as I'm trying to keep this video spoiler free because I want you to read it and check it out, but in one instance, Akane is forced to work with someone in the Rakugo society that she genuinely detests. But unfortunately, her success is pending on working with this person. So the complex emotion that you feel from her face, not just her thought bubbles alone in her speech, which is another thing that's really well done in terms of storytelling, but the way they capture her emotion, even her body language sometimes, is beautiful. Oh, and as I mentioned, the story of Akane-Banashi is important, right? We're following Akane around, she's getting her revenge on Rakugo society, she's rising through the ranks in a male-dominant space. But just as much as this story is important, the stories that are being told are just as important. So the mangaka takes actually some very special care in illustrating some of the story that's being told. Now, in the beginning, not so much so. We see Akane often telling a story without any visage as to what this story is about. And more on the art is that at some point in the story, as Akane improves in skill and rises in the ranks, she herself and other Rakugoka start to blend into the stories that they're telling. Like, you kind of see them become the characters. And the way the mangaka kind of like transitions you from Akane-Banashi the story to the story that's being told by Akane is crazy. Like, I lose myself in it. And again, just going back to Inception, Akane-Banashi is very Inception-y. Like, you will find yourself getting lost in the sauce, especially because they could be telling a story for like 5 chapters, which is the equivalent of a month and change. Like, you'll get so lost in the sauce, you won't even know that, hey, there's another story going on. Kind of like One Piece. Like, they have the journey, they're going on that journey, they're supposed to be finding the One Piece, but then some other happens, and all of a sudden, wait, we totally forgot about the One Piece for 100 chapters or 200 chapters. It's like, wait, we're reading One Piece, right? Anyway, that's kind of Akane-Banashi to some extent. You kind of forget about the main story in Akane's revenge, and you're just pulled into the story itself, which leads me into my next unexpected point. It's a story in a story, and all about pulling your audience in. As I mentioned in the battle components, the way that you win in Akane-Banashi and its battles is the one who wins over the audience and gets the most, I don't want to say laughs because not all the stories are funny, but gets the most emotional draw and attention. And in this, I say, yeah, they do a pretty good job at drawing the attention of the audience in the manga and outside of the manga. Because you're reading the story of Akane-Banashi, you're following this girl around, you want to see her revenge, you want to see all her training, all her glory, all her feats, all her come-ups, all her rivalries. But again, along the way, you kind of forget that this story is happening. Because each and every story that's being told in Akane-Banashi connects back to Akane-Banashi's story itself. A lot of these stories have lessons, they have meaning. Some of this meaning is meaningful for the characters themselves, who are learning how to interpret the story and learning how to dictate the story in the best manner for the most enjoyment for the audience, right? And we see how these stories impact our characters, like our Rakugoka characters, but also how they impact the audience and basically their enjoyment, like their impressions, their reactions, their immersion into the Rakugo stories that are being told. But I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna find yourself also listening to these stories, or rather reading these stories, and being like, oh my god, this is a really good story. Where can I find this story? Like, genuinely, I've never really been into the idea of Rakugo or going to a Rakugo performance, but Akane-Banashi has piqued my interest. And again, what helps, going back to the art, is that they illustrate the story for you, and they build a world. They build a world out of all the Rakugo stories. Like, will you believe it when I say that some of the Rakugo stories are connected to other stories, and it's a whole metaverse. It's a whole multiverse. Like, at some point, I was like, yo, does Akane have a domain expansion? That is what some of the storytelling is giving. And just like a domain expansion, you get caught in that and there's no way out until they end it. And this is what I love so much about the way the storytelling is done, not only the real story, but the story in the story. And you will be so immersed and up at the end of it that you're just gonna be like, wait, I'm forgetting about the main premise. Now, if you've been here before and seen some of my previous videos, then you'll definitely know and recall that Akane from Akane-Banashi is one of my favorite female characters from recent stories and recent manga. And I think aside from the fact that she's kind of paving a way in a male-dominant field, she's really quirky, she's very spunky, she's hilarious. I'm like, she has her serious moments when she's like in Rakugo mode, but then she's super silly outside of it. And the way that her silly faces are drawn, I find myself laughing every time. Actually, even when she's telling the stories, I find myself laughing because a lot of the stories that are told within Akane-Banashi, like the Rakugo stories, tend to lean towards like humor. And the way that she like uses her skills, her techniques to kind of finesse her facial expressions during storytelling is outrageously hilarious, to the point that I'm like, I get why the audience is laughing their ass off. But not only that, she's really determined, she's extremely hardworking. A lot of what you may see in some main characters, right? But she's definitely no prodigy child. You see her training from a really young age. And she definitely comes across as gifted amongst her peers, but they don't know her struggle. They don't know what she's been through. And they don't know how much she really immerses herself into Rakugo. Like, she is a Rakugo addict. That's how some of the characters kind of refer to her as. So you can't help but like love her character. Like, we all love someone who's obsessed about something. There's something so captivating about them. And a small last interesting tidbit about the story is that if you're like me who loves an entertainment, educational kind of story, someone who has never heard of Rakugo before, or rather I've heard of Rakugo, but I've never been into Rakugo, like I said earlier, it's got me really interested. It's got me wanting to see like Rakugo live. Like, I don't know if it's really my cup of tea. I don't know if the manga just really sells it well. I mean, they have a Rakugoka attached to the story of Akane-Banashi to supervise all of the stories that are created. But they are doing a fantastic job at, you know, sharing Japanese culture and educating other readers who are not exposed to this form of art as to what it's kind of all about. So like I mentioned earlier, we are getting an anime for Akane-Banashi in spring 2026. And the manga has done a fantastic job in, you know, everything that I've kind of already stated. So here's kind of what I'm hoping and looking forward to from the anime, because there are some things the anime can definitely help elevate on, especially since it's a story about storytelling. So I think critical is like how the VAs, how the voice actors do the work when it comes time to telling the Rakugo stories. Because from what I've heard so far, I love the Japanese voice actors attached to each of the different characters. Like, I hear them and I'm like, you know what? That's Akane. I can hear it. But what's going to be absolutely crucial is the way that they demonstrate range when they're telling the stories and how they dictate those stories, since they have something over the manga that we don't get, which is voice, which is so crucial to Rakugo. And I'm curious as to like how they will illustrate the story and the main characters and like the actual story of Akane-Banashi versus the Rakugo stories told within Akane-Banashi, because if you read the manga, there's a very clear, stark difference between the art styles, which is so fascinating, and it allows you to understand like, yo, they're in story mode right now. This is not Akane-Banashi, this is Rakugo time. But from what I've seen so far, the art looks really crisp. I haven't heard of this studio before. I like the way that the characters are drawn and designed. So I am much looking forward to this anime. If you haven't read Akane-Banashi and you're like, Mel, I don't got time to read a manga, then guess what? There's an anime coming out and you should look forward to that. While I can't say much as to like how I feel about the anime yet since it's not out, I do have high hopes just considering how good the manga is. But overall, if this video doesn't entice you, I really don't know what will. Because seriously, I didn't expect to feel so drawn to a manga about Rakugo and storytelling. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you thought about the points and elements that I raised in this. If you're not reading, let me know if you're interested in reading. If you are reading Akane-Banashi, are there some additional aspects about Akane-Banashi that you love that I may not have mentioned in this video? And if you've reached this point and haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share with somebody else so we can share the wealth and joy of Akane-Banashi, because I need more people to talk to about this. But that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for joining. I truly appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching this and just letting me ramble. I'm Mel, the host of Mel, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.